Hold one. Arm drag. Whoa! This is
Brett screwed Brett.
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Brett screwed Brett.
Hold two. Arm bar.
Hey, get a nice shot of the brand new Mr. and Mrs. Hunter Hurst Helmsley.
I hate you. I hate you. I hate your hat. I hate your t-shirts. I hate your wristbands. I hate your shoes. I hate your music. I hate the C-Nation. I hate everything that you stand for.
Sodas rule. Yeah, they do.
Hold three. The moss-covered, three-handle family gradunzo.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
Oh, yeah, and it's good to be back. Black Avenger Lee Sanders here, coming at you live right now on blogtalkradio.com. Coming at you live right now on November 27, 2012. Just 3 days left before we go into December. Hopefully you were able to take advantage of the Black Friday sale last week, and you were able to take care of the Cyber Sunday. Grab some last-minute, expensive electronic devices as we got Christmas just around the corner. You know the old saying, early shopper, best shopper. That way you don't have to get caught up in that weird traffic when you get ready to go to the stores to do that last-minute shopping. Don't do that. Save the hassle and the headache, all right? Your kids will thank you later, trust me. All right, so we got a pretty solid show lined up for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking about the fallout from WWE Raw from this past Monday night. Get you all covered with the very latest in wrestling-related news. Been somewhat of a quiet week due to the holiday, but we got a few headlines we'd like to let you know about. And, of course, we have a special announcement as we're going to be having a special guest stop by Impact Showdown Radio this Thursday night. I'm going to be kicking back doing a one-on-one interview. I'll give you more details about that right after we come back from our first commercial break. But in the meantime, we're going to be talking about the fallout from WWE Raw. All right, as always, we got the chat room. It's loaded up right now. Feel free to jump on in there at your convenience. It's up at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. And, of course, in the later part of the show, we'll be opening up the phone lines to get you all's reactions. First-time callers, always welcome. New callers don't really call in enough. You know, you all are more than welcome to call in and chime in your thoughts on how you either liked or disliked Raw from this past Monday night. Of course, you can interact with us during the course of tonight's episode by interacting with us in the chat room, and you can hit us up on Twitter at Infinity1Prod, Facebook at Infinity1Productions.com. You know, we had added a few little perks to the website over the weekend, and I guess we are really getting popular because I had got word that the website was viciously attacked over the weekend by some overseas hackers, and one guy in particular, he tried in the span of 10 minutes hacking into the website. I believe he attempted 46, 50 hacking attempts, and he just was not able to get in there. And really, really crazy shit right there when you hear it. But, yeah, we've taken all the necessary precautions that we can to make sure that our site is fully protected. And, yeah, very crazy when you hear that type of stuff. And I guess somebody was like, this site looks good. I think I'll make it my own. Yes. And no access denied, buddy. So, yeah, but apparently the RCWR Show is a hit, as well as the website overseas in China, Beijing, Africa, Australia, Poland, Russia. Mad shout out to those of you over there, especially you hackers. All right, just had to throw that little jab out there. You know, before we go into tonight's show, I want to just take this time out to thank those of you that had checked out our weekend report edition of the RCWR Show. You really have made that be a very, very popular episode over the weekend, and we can't thank you guys enough for checking that out. I know for the majority of that episode, I was flying solo, but the last 25 minutes, we had the lovely co-producer Tammy pop up, and we were just going into all things wrestling, entertainment. I mean, we were just going all over the place, and I know based on some of the feedback I received, some of you guys had appreciated the honest reviews I had gave for the GF Tate album, the Soundgarden album. A lot of you guys really had appreciated the honest reviews I gave for that. You're welcome for those reviews, by the way. And it was such a good show that we had over the weekend. I highly encourage you to check it out if you hadn't already listened to it. So good. Lovely co-producer Tab. And she said, you know what, if maybe we could talk for maybe close to an hour, 90 minutes, I wouldn't mind coming back on a Saturday show. And I said, okay, well, let's see what we can do. We could probably meet that time frame. I kind of want to enjoy the weekend myself, so we're going to see what's going to happen. But just a heads up, co-producer time is going to be popping up again this Saturday for the weekend edition. So with that in mind, let's go on ahead and let's talk about what all had happened on WWE Raw from this past Monday night. You know, I was kicking back like many of you, and I couldn't wait to hear the Shield break their silence. And I'm going to be making fun of that name in just a little bit, probably after I'm done reviewing Raw overall. But I got a few bones to pick. One is with that ridiculous name. But we finally saw the Shield's Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Romaine, Reigns break their silence in a WWE exclusive interview with one Michael Cole. And who better to conduct an interview than Michael Cole, especially now that he is that babyface announcer right now. Seems like no time soon can we expect for Cole to go back to being that annoying announcer that we just love to hate, that we can't wait to get in the video games and just mop all over the place in the ring. Looks like he's staying the babyface route permanently, at least for the foreseeable future, at least the next 6 months. Smart move that they did right here, having Michael Cole do the interview with the Shield, as it really gave me a nice little throwback vibe to when Jim Ross used to be kicking back, and he used to have the unfortunate pleasure of interviewing heels, and he's had quite a few number of interviews in his day that just did not go right. And if you want some greatest hit packages, just hop up on YouTube and just type in keywords Jim Ross greatest interviews, or JR gets attacked in interviews. He usually seems like every 10 interviews JR does with a heel wrestler, he always ends up getting attacked or something physically bad happens to him. But in this case, nothing bad happened to Michael Cole, as we saw the Shield explain why they were operating the way that they were operating, and pretty much Dean Ambrose being the mouthpiece, being that heartbeat for the group. He was the one that was doing the majority of the talking, and if you were paying very close attention to his words, he basically sat up and said that what they are about is countering what they believe is a form of injustice that's happening in the WWE. And they were talking about how you have the Booker T's of SmackDown as the respected GM, the Vicky Guerreros as the Raw GM, how they are sitting up, and at the end of the day, they have to answer to a higher power, which is the WWE Board of Directors, but the WWE Board of Directors is trying to make the best decisions possible in favor of their biggest client, which is the WWE Universe, a.k.a. the fans. And we see Dean Ambrose, he talks passionately about this, saying how, look at what happened with CM Punk. He's held the WWE Championship for a total of 365 days plus. In today's society, that is just a huge milestone, one that should be looked at with high regard, but it's not exactly happening like this. And Michael Cole, he I asked the question that a lot of people wanted to know. Is the Shield associated with CM Punk? Are they working with him in any type of way? Dean says no. So then the real question is, okay, well then who the heck are they working for? And the answer to that, at this point at least, guys, they aren't working for anybody. They are working for themselves. Look at these guys as rogue vigilantes, if you will. Wherever they feel there is a wrong, they look to make it right. As in point, Dean Ambrose brings up how CM Punk had to defend his championship at the last pay-per-view, Survivor Series, against two men. Ambrose saying that wasn't right, and they felt that justice needed to be balanced. And that's why they made their presence felt. And Ambrose would go on record and say it wouldn't matter who the WWE champion was. Didn't matter if it was CM Punk or if it was John Cena. They did the same thing regardless of who was champion. Still kind of throws a few eyebrows out there. Now, we did hear Rollins. He chimed in a few words of his own. Romaine Reigns, he really didn't have much to say. His whole thing was when he has something to say, basically he'll say it. And in the short 4-minute interview, we did hear Reigns speak, and it was pretty much the interview is over, but not before Ambrose really hit that home run, letting it be known that what they all are about are facing up to an injustice, corruption. They basically are the Shield. That's it, folks, in a nutshell. And, you know, the way that this was properly executed, I was just admiring the hell out of Dean Ambrose. Now, I am not going to even try to put up a front to you guys. I had just been hearing, like a few other people that probably were like, Dean Ambrose, who is this guy? This guy just kind of came out of nowhere. Well, for me personally, I've heard the rumblings of this guy. I've heard this guy's name as far back as a few months ago when he was getting into the whole Twitter feud with Mick Foley. So he caught my attention right around there. I've seen a little bit of his in-ring performance, but I couldn't really get a whole grasp of this guy until what I had saw Monday night. And it could be just me, but I know there's probably a few other people out there that are thinking the same way when we were looking at his portrayal Monday night. He really came off kind of like he had a Heath Ledger Joker vibe going on to him, and that's not an insult. I mean, it's in a really good way. I was really liking his body language and just the way he was telling the story, the way he just had me hooked on. And it's one of those type of things that, unfortunately, with a lot of today's young wrestlers, they just don't have that. And if you've been watching wrestling for a good while now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, to be able to be locked in on whatever that guy is saying, you know, for somebody to be able to hold your attention, and they aren't even wrestling. They're just kicking back, they're sitting in a chair, and they're just talking. Just not even a raised voice, no difference in the tone, no pitch, just straightforward, just the same flow. You know, there's not really too many men that I can think of that can really do that in today's day and age. I mean, this guy, you know, and I don't want people sitting up saying, oh, my God, you just compared him to. I'm just talking about his delivery on the mic. He reminded me of Jake Roberts. Jake Roberts is the only guy I know of that did not have to raise his voice just to make his point. You were hooked on every single word that he was saying. And, you know, with Dean Ambrose, this guy right here, you know, I know a lot of people, they sat up and said, oh, this guy, he's got a great career ahead of him. He's going to be going to high places. Without a doubt, he is. And if you were very impressed by what you had saw from Ambrose on Monday night, you're nowhere even near scratching the surface. My best advice to you right now, if you're very impressed with his work, do like I did, because unfortunately, like I said, I came on board Ambrose right around the Mick Foley Twitter battle that was going on, but I did end up checking a little bit of his wrestling catalog. That's on YouTube. I highly encourage you guys to go dig up whatever matches you can find of him and just take those matches for what it's worth, because WWE, if they do this right, they really have the next big megastar on their hands. Do they have their next CM Punk or their anti-CM Punk? It's highly likely. That's just how damn good this guy is. Seth Rollins, of course, what can you say about the guy? Hands down, he's great. Former NXT World Champion, former Ring of Honor champion, kind of following in those similar footsteps that CM Punk had did. You know, it's a no-brainer. He's destined for greatness. Romaine Reigns, I've been able to get an early assessment of him so far, and I don't want to jump to conclusions because it's still early. But based off of his body language, his mic work, although it was very brief, I can tell that he does need a little bit more seasoning, and that's not making fun of him. That's not throwing a jab at him. That's just being straight up honest, and quite honestly, I think it's smart that WWE, they paired him up with those two guys, because he's going to be able to learn from them, and I understand exactly why they have him paired up with these guys, because I know some people are looking at this and they're saying to themselves, well, why do we have Romaine in there? Why couldn't it be somebody else? And specifically, why couldn't it be maybe Chris Hero? That's a name that has just been thrown out there, especially if you had checked out CM Punk's DVD. A lot of people, they find out that Chris Hero, he is in the WWE developmental territory. Well, why isn't he being called up? Well, rest assured, he's going to be coming up to the main roster in the very near future. Will he somehow tie into what's going on with the Shield right now? Possibly, but it's not going to take that long. He will be popping up sooner or later, but I do understand where you guys are coming from. But I just think that just based off of the way that Romaine looks, I mean, you have to admit he's got that certain look, and it's smart that they're pairing him up with those guys. I do see great big things happening for him. I don't want to jump out there too prematurely, but just the early assessment that I can take from him so far, he's got potential to be one of those next Batista type of guys if he's handled right. I know that's kind of jumping a little far out there, but that's just what I'm able to gather so far. I have to see a little bit more. But great segment right here that we had got with the Shield. Of course, we got to talk about the other major angle that had happened on Raw from this past Monday. And folks, say it with me, 1, 2, 3, AJ scandal. And unfortunately, with this one, well, it kind of took a new turn that was somewhat more interesting. I just thought it was kind of funny, though, that with regards to this, we had saw God, I really don't even want to talk about this segment. I thought this segment was stupid. You know what? I'll talk about this segment only because I thought that Dolph Ziggler kicked total ass in this, and I was just amazed that some people still did not connect the dots of what was going on with Dolph Ziggler. Now, look, we see John Cena. He comes on now. Vicky Guerrero, she comes on now. And Vicky Guerrero, she's throwing little insults out there at John Cena, saying, hey, before looked as if maybe you didn't have anything to do with AJ Lee, but now you're sitting up and you kissed her last week, and you're basically just confirming in my mind that you really have had something to do with AJ. So, Vicky Guerrero, she gets them some parting gifts, his and her robes. So you're looking at that, you're saying, okay, when is this segment really going to pick up? Well, we see AJ Lee, she comes on now, and she informs Vicky Guerrero that, hey, before they really did not have anything to do with one another, but she does admit that the kiss from last week, well, it did stir up some stuff, and AJ admits that in the past she has made poor choices, and that, it's good that she's no longer a Raw GM, because now she could do what she's always wanted to do, and which is basically pat Cena on the butt and have lovey-dovey eyes with him, and she was getting ready to plant one on him when Vicky said, okay, look, I see the point, I get it, and luckily we see Dolph Ziggler, he comes on out, and again, you can't help but kind of wonder what exactly is going on with Dolph Ziggler here. Why does he keep coming out? What's his investment in this? And we basically hear Dolph Ziggler, he had to go through a little bit of verbiage, but the key thing I want you to take away from what Dolph Ziggler said was, okay, look, Cena, it must eat you up inside to know that as you were kissing AJ, what she was really thinking about was kissing me. So you kind of hear that and you're saying to yourself, what? And it was so funny because we had some people sit up and say, I don't get this segment. What is this really about? Why is Ziggler out here? And we spelled it out for you guys a couple of weeks ago. I mean, we saw the first clue. We ran right with it. Apparently, Dolph Ziggler, he was either trying to holler at AJ and she shot him down, or he had some type of dealings with her. It was very brief, but he had some type of dealings with her, and AJ wasn't feeling it, and she walked away from him. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Can't stress it enough. If you were not able to connect the dots from this past Monday night, I don't know how much more they're going to sit up and really spell it more out for you, And that's all I got to say about that. So for those of you that are kind of like, what's going on with the segment? Why Ziggler is out here? What y'all really should be focusing on is just how the end result of this whole fiasco is going to end. And, I was thinking about it early on. I really didn't want to see it happen, but Vicky Guerrero has created so much buzz. I actually wouldn't mind entertaining the thought of seeing Dolph Ziggler team up with Vicky Guerrero to take on the team of John Cena and AJ Lee. Maybe they could put some type of a stipulation out there. Basically, if Team AJ, John Cena wins, Vicky Guerrero, she has to stop with all this scandalous stuff that she's doing, bashing their names, all that other silly stuff. And for the guy in the chat room that keeps asking about when we're going to be taking calls, I'm sorry, folks, that's listening right now, but I'm looking at the chat room here. For Gigator or Giant Tor, I don't know your name there. Having a hard time reading it there. I don't have my glasses tonight. We're going to open up the phone lines in the later part of the show. We will be taking phone calls, but what we're doing right now, as we do always, we recap what had happened on Raw from this past Monday night, cover the latest in wrestling-related news, then we open up the phone lines. We usually try to open up the phone lines right around the 40-minute mark. So for those of you that are patiently on hold, whether it is just listen to the show, keep doing what you're doing. For those of you that's just specifically looking to just come on the air live and talk about what had happened on Raw, you want to wait till the 40-minute, 45 mark. We'll open up the phone lines. All right, so let's go on ahead and let's get back to it here. That needs to be the end result. That's what I would like to see happen. Could it happen at TLC? I'm not really sure, but honestly, I need to see some type of a end result to this now. It didn't look like we got that end result from Raw, as it was announced that John Cena was going to be taking on Dolph Ziggler in a one-on-one match. And I know that one-on-one match had pissed off a lot of people. I want to talk about that match. One of the main events was John Cena taking on Dolph Ziggler. Now, just think about that impressive week that John Cena had, that Dolph Ziggler had from last week. I mean, he was just winning all over the place. He had got a win over Randy Orton, pretty much much not once but twice, one at the Survivor Series pay-per-view and then one on this past Friday night SmackDown. Then he sat up and defeated The Miz. And, you looked at just everything that he had did last week. If I'm not mistaken, somebody in the chat room correct me, but if I'm not mistaken, I believe he had got a win on Raw. I just can't think of who the person was from last week, but we saw him get 4 wins last week. He's going into this match with John Cena. He's got a lot of momentum going in his favor. He's taking on John Cena here. I must admit, this was a great match that we had saw with these two guys, hands down. I know I stopped everything that I was doing when this match had came on because I wanted to see just how well Ziggler handled himself with Cena. I mean, we've seen Cena and Ziggler dance before, but not when there's been so much at stake. It's a case here where you can tell it's writing on the wall. Ziggler is being crafted in a way where he is getting ready to receive that big mega push to become the next World Heavyweight Champion. And thank you for that correction. You just jogged my memory there, Gigator in the chat room. You're right. He didn't wrestle, but he still looked impressive on Raw last week because he had attacked John Cena in the locker room there, really coming out looking pretty strong. And, you looked at what had happened with this match that Cena-Ziggler had for Monday night, and you see Cena pick up the win, and so many people were upset. So many people were like, oh, my God, there goes Dolph Ziggler's push. Ziggler is now back where he started before. You guys are just really missing it. Seriously, if you go back and you watch Monday Night Raw, you can easily connect the dots here. Not only did John Cena pick up a win over Dolph Ziggler, and quite honestly, it was a much-needed win. Think about who John Cena is going to be taking on Wednesday's main event on the Ion channel. He's going to be taking on the intellectual savior, Damien Sandow. And, folks, Damien Sandow wrestled on Raw that night, and who did he defeat? He defeated Zack Ryder. So, for me personally, it made all the sense in the world to see John Cena pick up a win because he needs to look strong going into his main event match against Damien Sandow. For me, when I saw this happen, I just automatically said, okay, they're just setting it up. They're trying to really hype up this encounter that these two guys are going to be having on main event. I'm down with that. Dolph Ziggler, to me, he didn't lose momentum in any type of way. I still see him being very high up there just because he lost to Cena. They're not done by a long shot. This is not going to wrap up until they have some type of a match. Now, as I said earlier, it'd be nice to kind of see Cena, AJ take on Ziggler and Vicky Guerrero, or maybe some type of a stipulation could be put out there. I would kind of say it's a little too early to see Vicky Guerrero lose her role as the supervising Raw GM. I just don't see that happening. I still think she's very popular right now. I still feel that the fans, they just really hate her freaking guts. She still, no matter how many years it's been, however long it's been that she keeps throwing out there, excuse me, she can still capture the attention of fans and can really just at a lot of times be barely heard as she's trying to talk in the arena. So, I mean, really, because I know some people sit up saying, well, maybe she could lose her spot. I don't see that happening, guys. I don't see her losing her Raw GM spot at least for a couple of more months. I would actually be a little bit stunned if they put it on the line as early as TLC. Other matches that we had saw of the night, we saw Ryback take on Titus O'Neil. Now, we saw Ryback pretty much have a return match, if you will. As remember, just last week on Raw, he had defeated Darren Young. Titus O'Neil, he kind of took offense to that, didn't like the way his little buddy was getting punked around by Ryback. So this week may kind of perfect sense to see Titus O'Neil step in to try to take on Ryback, right? Yeah, it makes a little sense. Ryback squashed Titus O'Neil, although I must admit there is a couple of sweet spots in this match that just had me say, okay, Ryback is really starting to come along pretty good. He kind of showed a little bit more diversity as Titus O'Neil, several key points during the match, he was taking the lead, and he was just having his way with Ryback for a minute. I was really liking that. Now, post-match, we did see Ryback get a microphone, deliver some more verbiage on the microphone. I was pretty impressed with what I had heard him say from this past Monday night, basically saying it doesn't matter if it's 3 guys dressed in black, the WWE champion, or all 4. He basically wants them. He wants payback. He basically wants to get fed, okay? We see him. He did not leave the ring. He refused to leave the ring until he got exactly what he wanted, and we saw security guards pop up. They tried to get him out of the ring, and Ryback, he wasn't budging. Vicky Guerrero came out, and she tried to negotiate with him that he needed to leave the ring, and she was also getting ready to suspend him there, sounded like, but Ryback cut her off, and he let her know that he's not leaving the ring until he gets another match with the WWE champion, CM Punk, at TLC. And, folks, get ready for this. Ryback doesn't just want CM Punk at TLC. No. Ryback wants CM Punk in a tables, ladders, chairs match for the WWE Championship. Vicky Guerrero, she caves in. She gives him what he wants and tells him, hey, you can have it, just get out the ring. So we did see one of the security guards. They did try to step forward, and they tried to get in the face of Ryback. He quickly tossed that guy out the ring. Was I the only one that thought that guy looked as if he might have been Kofi Kingston's dad or older brother or something? Strong similarities there in the face. But in either case, we see Ryback. He does eventually leave on his own. From there, we saw Alberto Del Rio have a match with the Great Khali. That match was a result of a backstage segment where Hornswoggle had some words with Rosa Mendez. As remember, just last week on Raw, Hornswoggle, he had squirted Rosa Mendez with some flowers that he had, and Alberto Del Rio, he tried to come to Rosa Mendez's aid in this backstage segment, and he was actually getting ready to put his hands on Hornswoggle when Khali came out of nowhere. And so that's pretty much how this match was set up. Now, we saw Alberto Del Rio defeat Great Khali via arm crossbreaker submission. I have a problem with that, and I think many of you guys will agree with me on this. You know, when I look at Great Khali, I realize that all his upper strength, and you can just look at him and tell, all his strength is in his upper body, his arms, his chest, his shoulders, hell, his neck, his head, you know, and I had a hard time believing that Alberto Del Rio was able to make Great Khali tap out by applying the cross arm breaker. That just didn't do well for me, guys. I'm sorry. Some of you might be like, Lee, you might be overanalyzing that a little bit. I beg to differ because everybody knows Great Khali's knees and his legs, I mean, they are skinny as freaking toothpicks, and the legs is what you want to go for. I mean, unfortunately, Great Khali's got Kevin Nash legs. And so I'm seeing this happen, and I'm just saying to myself, okay, Alberto Del Rio, go for the legs. I don't know. I mean, I'm all fine with the victory. I just wish that it could have been more believable if Del Rio was focusing on the legs. That's just my whole point. Other matches we saw Tamina take on Alicia Fox. She's continuing her impressive return, as she is now somewhat of a bodyguard / assistant, it looks like, to Vicky Guerrero. Surprisingly, no reference to Miss Caitlin or Eve, the Divas champion, as let's not forget, last week at the SmackDown tapings, I believe it was in Michigan, Michigan police had arrived at the SmackDown arena as they had a warrant for Caitlin's arrest for some unpaid parking tickets. And it looks like, on an interesting note, other than that Divas match, we really didn't see anything else from the Divas that night. So we still got Ion. We still have NXT. I know the tapings were tonight for that. SmackDown should be interesting to see if maybe Caitlyn, Eve, they pop up on there. But it's going in so perfectly with what we had told you guys on our Saturday Weekend Report edition, which was, don't expect for Caitlyn to just pop up as if nothing happened, on this week's worth of episodes. She's probably going to eat a little bit of dirt for a little bit. We told you don't be too surprised if WWE might have pulled her off of main programming. So looks like she might be in the doghouse right now. We also saw for the first time ever Rey Mysterio take on Daniel Bryan Danielson. Now, we were actually paying attention, along with a couple of other people, to the Raw active poll for the night. And originally, it was decided, not decided, but originally there was a Raw active poll that had said you could either vote for Kane to face the WWE Champion CM Punk, or you could see Daniel Bryan take on CM Punk. And I know Zed had put a funny tweet out there. He said, folks, the choice is yours. It's an easy one. Do you want a slow, boring match in Kane, or do you want to see a really kick-ass 5-star match, Daniel Bryan? Choice is easy, right? Yeah, and they said that Daniel Bryan had lost, Kane got it, so it was going to be Kane taking on CM Punk. Well, as we would later find out, and we were actually paying attention to the numbers all throughout the night, but we didn't think that WWE was going to operate the way that they operated, but they kind of turned it into a little whole conspiracy thing. It turns out Daniel Bryan actually had won, and he had won by a huge margin. Now, the actual numbers that I was able to gather, Daniel Bryan had beat Kane 585 to 408, and we aren't the only ones that were paying attention to those numbers. There's a website by the name of #Battle. They had actually took notes of that Raw active poll, and Daniel Bryan had actually tweeted earlier today saying, I smell corruption. And he mentioned the whole numbers. So very interesting that Daniel Bryan had got screwed there. Honestly, I think that this was a really funny case of a Raw active poll kind of blowing up in the faces of WWE a little bit. But at the same time, I also loved how they sat up and brilliantly kind of took a jab at what was happening with the whole presidential election or decision 2012 as just a sea of states just dominated in blue by the Democrats, red being the Republicans, and poor Linda McMahon not winning. Kind of interesting when you really think about it. Nice little funny touch that WWE did right there. But we had saw Rey Mysterio take on Daniel Bryan Danielson for the first time. Pretty solid contest that we had right there. Rey Mysterio picking up the victory. We saw Sheamus defeat Antonio Cesaro, but the way that this came about, before people start wondering what happened with the R-Truth Cesaro program, well, Cesaro didn't exactly lose to Sheamus. Now, we saw Sheamus do his bro kick to the face of Cesaro. Cesaro lands out the ring, and he's pretty much out cold. He cannot get back in the ring in time before the ref counts to 10. He's pretty much done, okay? Big Show comes out a little bit towards the end of the match, post-match, and he has a steel chair in hand. And Sheamus, he tells him, hey, come on down. It's okay. Let's go. Let's go for it, one-on-one. Big Show, he decides he's not going to go for it, and we just see a exchange of words between these two guys. We see Sheamus tell Big Show, hey, look, you've been going around telling people how you're going to be holding on to the World Heavyweight Championship for a long time, and basically if you can have it, you're going to hold it until you decide to retire. And he goes, fella, it looks like you're going to be retiring at TLC in our match. Big Show, he begs to differ, and we see Big Show basically throw a temper tantrum like a 5-year-old. He just starts taking the steel chair, and he just starts throwing punches to it, and he just starts banging it on the floor. And, I mean, I've never seen Big Show so angry before. I mean, just with a little temper tantrum because Sheamus said something that was actually better than what he said, basically. So Big Show destroys a chair. That was pretty much your post-match. Really could have did without that, but I get the point. I get what they're trying to say with that, and that should be a fantastic match right there. Honestly, when it comes to that match, folks, I know it's kind of early, but with regards to match predictions, you know, it's highly possible that Sheamus could get that belt back. Some people may not like it, but you got to admit, it looks kind of cool seeing Sheamus chase after the World Heavyweight Championship. We also got to see Damian Sandow. Oh, we already talked about that match. He defeated Zack Ryder. Punk, that's the one we were talking about. Punk, he had that match with Kane in the main event. Now, we saw CM Punk defeat Kane, but let's talk about what happened post-match. All right, because this is where it gets really funny. We see the Shield pop up, and these guys were just randomly just popping up all around the arena. They wait to strike. It looks like they're about to attack the WWE champion, and instead they just do a hell of a beatdown on the Big Red Monster Kane. And they are just beating this guy down really good. And we see CM Punk, he's just looking on like WTH, you know. And Punk, he leaves, and he's getting ready to go to the backstage area when Ryback pops up. CM Punk, he's looking. He doesn't want any part of that. CM Punk, he actually hops over a wall barricade, and he's pretty much with the fans as Ryback goes in there. And Ryback was just spearing and clotheslining people just left and right. And CM Punk, he tried to get back in there. He tried to attack Ryback. But Ryback, he is setting up CM Punk, looks like for a power bomb. Romaine Reigns out of nowhere with an impressive spear that would make Edge proud. Just lays out Ryback, and the Shield, they just proceed to beat down on Ryback once again, just like they did at the Survivor Series pay-per-view, just like they did from last week's Raw. They even sit up and they deliver another devastating power bomb to him. Well, not exactly a power bomb, but a jackknife power bomb, if you will, just like they did the other two times that they've collided with him, to just leave him laid out on the canvas. Once again, the question is asked, okay, just what exactly is CM Punk's affiliation with the Shield? Because given this evidence here, given what the Shield had just said, there sure as hell is a strong suggestion here that CM Punk has some type of a affiliation with them. And I just love how they are just continuing to create that doubt. They have the ball in their court right now. They could either take it in a direction of eventually it is revealed that it is CM Punk that's behind all this, or they could go in a direction where it's not CM Punk, and instead many people would say, oh, well, maybe it's Paul Heyman. Maybe he's the one behind it all. Maybe he's the one that's eventually going to set up CM Punk to take a fall. Who knows? Or maybe Brad Maddox could be the one behind it. He did just disappear all of a sudden there. But I love how they just created a whole lot of doubt going forward, as now even more questions are going to be asked. And you know, if I were to try to write how this could play out, I mean, it would be really awesome to eventually. I like what they're doing right now, having CM Punk be that focal point. Is he behind it? I say let that gag run for a few more weeks. And, hey, who knows? Maybe we could see the Shield actually be in that position where it looks like maybe they do have some type of a connection with Punk, but in reality they don't. And they proceed to beat him down. Of course, I can't mention talking about this match and how everything just played out in the final few seconds before it went off the air. I, of course, cannot go off the hook without mentioning how Daniel Bryan tried to come to the aid of his big buddy Kane, and the Shield beat him down as well. So you got some nice work going into next week's WWE Raw. I mean, one scenario that could play out is we could see Daniel Bryan and Kane say, you know what, Shield, you guys want to sit up, you want to interfere in matches and all that. We'll take two of you guys on next week, and it's highly possible we could see two members of the Shield in competition against Team Hell No next week. I would love to see something like that happen. I think they got great momentum that's happening right now. Why hold it off? Make it happen. So, yeah, let's see what WWE might be able to do with that. I wouldn't wait for them to do this at a pay-per-view. I say, why wait? You know, go for it now. Let's see what happens. But nice little setup for next week. Of course, we got the other development there with Ziggler. Overall, pretty solid show that we had got from Raw this past Monday night. I mean, you really couldn't go wrong with that. You know, and the other thing that was very interesting, I'm not sure if you guys had noticed it, but from what I'm able to recollect, because that was all freestyle, by the way, of what all I remembered from Raw. That's the beautiful part about our show, unlike several other shows. We don't read scripts. We're not Walter Cronkite over here. When you listen to our show, everything's off the top of the memory, okay? Shows you how uncanny and dedicated I am to making sure we're pretty much spot on when we talk about these shows for you guys. You know, the one thing that really stood out in my mind is that we didn't have any tag matches in this. I don't know if anybody else kind of noticed that, but there was no freaking tag matches. Hey, I'm not complaining. I actually thought that was pretty fucking good. But, you know, again, there were no tag matches. But overall, still, pretty good, solid episode of Raw that we had. Got a lot of singles competition. Can't really go wrong with that. Grand total, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I want to say 9, maybe 10 matches off the top of my head that I can recall right now. Pretty good number for a 3-hour event. And the 3 hours didn't feel that long at all. It felt pretty. It felt pretty good. Didn't feel like you were just waiting for the episode to end, which is pretty good since you're coming off of a long holiday. All right, that's going to do it for the Raw results. We're going to go on here. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and then we're going to come right back, and we're going to open up the phone lines. I'm going to let you guys know a quick programming note as we have a special guest that's going to be stopping by the show this coming Thursday night on Impact Showdown Radio. Real great treat. You guys will make sure you want to stick around, hear who we got coming on the show. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. Really solid stuff. All right, so we're going to take that commercial break right now, and we'll come right back. We'll jump right into everything else. You're listening to the RCWR Show, Tuesday Night Wrestling Report, coming at you live right now on November 27th, 2012, 12 minutes before the midnight hour. We'll be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight.
Hey guys, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders here, and I just wanted to take this time out to thank you for checking out this episode tonight. And you know, if you like what you had heard tonight and you want more, then be sure to check us out every single Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on this website at blogtalkradio.com, also on our sister website at InfinityOneProductions.com, where every single week you'll be able to get that wrestling fix, as we'll give you guys the latest fallout from Monday's WWE Raw, share with you the reviews, honest analysis, no BS, no fluff, just what you want when you need it most, and we'll also get you guys caught up on the very latest in WWE wrestling-related headlines and so much more. And the best part about all this is that every single week we will be sharing with you all live fan reactions, as we want to hear from you, whether it is in our active chat room or you're interacting with us as we are live in progress by hitting us up on Twitter at Infinity1Prod, Facebook at InfinityOneProductions.com. We give you the necessary tools that's necessary to be able to interact with us each and every single week. For those of you that like to call into the show, hey, guess what? You'll be able to do that as well. This is the show that is for you, the wrestling fans, to be able to share your thoughts, your reactions, your likes, dislikes to what you had saw from Raw this past Monday night, or whatever's got you talking as far as wrestling-related news. So be sure to check us out every single Tuesday night, as it's our Tuesday night Wrestling Report edition of the RCWR Show at 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show, and at our sister website at InfinityOneProductions.com. Hey, you're going to miss our episode that's live in progress, won't be able to catch up with it until later. That's not a problem. Check us out on the downloads in the iTunes, Zune marketplaces, also on Stitcher, just by using the keywords, the RCWR Show.
All right, and we are back. You're listening to the Tuesday Night Wrestling edition of the RCWR Show. Black Avenger, as always, Lee Sanders here. All right, so we're going to open up the phone lines in just a little bit. I wanted to let you guys know about some few wrestling little tidbits of news that I had came across that I thought was kind of interesting to talk about. You know, one of the things that kind of jumped out in my head, and it's been a lot of speculation right now, what's going on with The Undertaker? And I meant to talk about The Undertaker on the weekend edition of the RCWR Show. That's going to have to be probably an in-depth discussion when we get ready to do it this Saturday. But it's been said that WWE, they've reached out to The Undertaker to see if he might be interested in doing a main event caliber match. And The Undertaker, shockingly, despite all the health issues that he has going on right now, he is actually going to be doing a main event caliber match. It could come as early as next WrestleMania, so it should be interesting to see what exactly is going to be happening with that. I know that probably shocked the hell out of a lot of you guys hearing that Undertaker is possibly going to be having another match. Looks like he might be defending the streak. I don't really want to go into it right now, because if I were to go into it right now, that would be like 30 minutes. And I don't want to go into that without having the lovely co-producer Tammy on board, because I know me and her, when we start talking about The Undertaker, we get into a pretty long conversation about it. But in a nutshell, take that for what it's worth. Looks like whether we like it or not, Undertaker is going to be coming back for one more match. And we got some Dwayne Rock Johnson news for you guys. And I don't know about this one. The Rock, it looks like he's going to be making 2 appearances. Now, one appearance that he's going to be doing, of course, he's going to be popping up the night after the Royal Rumble coming up next year. But the other thing that's going to be happening, The Rock is going to be returning on the episode of Raw in February, the night after the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. So make sure you mark those 2 dates down on your calendar. Before we go off the air, we'll let you guys know the dates of those respective pay-per-views so you can circle those respected episodes of Raw if you're trying to catch The Rock. All right, so we got a special guest that's going to be coming by Impact Showdown Radio this Thursday night at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, and it's a high honor to have this guy come on to the show, give you the backstory. I'm not going to draw it out or anything like that, but I'm just setting it up properly for you guys. This guy, he had appeared for TNA Wrestling a couple of months back, and he just impressed the hell out of me. And I was very heartbroken when this guy was not awarded a TNA gut check contract, as the argument was made that he was too young, basically come back in a couple of years. And, you know, a lot of people, including myself, we were like, okay, this guy is ready. What the hell you mean he needs to come back in a couple of years? And I was very passionate when I was defending this guy, saying that Magnus was pretty much right around his age when he had popped up in TNA Wrestling, what was it, 3, 4, 5 years ago or whatever. And it's a high honor to have this guy come on to the show. I've been chatting with him all week, and we're probably going to continue to talk right on up until he gets ready to come on. But we're going to have Elia Markinopoulos. You may know him better by the TNA gut check name of Evan Markinopoulos. But his real name is Elia Markinopoulos. And just to give you a backstory on this guy, he's 18 years old. He's a professional wrestler. He's been doing it since 2007. And he's trained at the Killer Kowalski's school. He's got a really impressive resume, I must say. So damn impressive. I'll actually read a little bit to you right here. All right. And he's from Greece, by the way. He joined the Chaotic Training Center in North Andover, MA, and he had trained under the guidance of Todd Smith and Brian Balonis. And after about a year of that, he started being trained under the instruction of Coach Mike Hollow. Soon after that, he switched coaches, and he went to go get trained by the New England legend, Brian Fury. And, he's got 5 years of experience under his belt as he had continued his training with the Chaotic Wrestling, where he actually had ended up becoming the local New England champion on the indie scene. And really impressive story when you hear that. And, if you have a friend that might be into wrestling, or you have somebody, or maybe it's yourself that wants to get into that mindset of what it's like to be a professional wrestler, starting off and all of that. Here's a guy right here that's already got a few years of experience under his belt that's going to be coming by the show, and he's going to be giving us all just great insight. So it's going to be a high honor to have him come by the show. And we're going to be talking all things wrestling. It's going to be an exclusive one-on-one interview I'll be having with him this Thursday live. So make sure you check that out. It'll be happening on Thursday night, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, right here on Blog Talk Radio. So make sure you check that out. And for those of you that kind of need your memory jogged up a little bit more, don't worry. As soon as the episode is over, because I know I'm typing up something right now, because I am a contributor on the Infinity One Productions website. From time to time I write some stuff up, so I'll actually be giving you guys a press release in case you want to share it with your friends through Twitter or whatever. Just look for that. It'll come right after we get done doing the show, and I'll be uploading it and everything. Also, for you Joey Ryan fans, I want to let you guys know I was going down a trip down memory lane, and I didn't realize that our YouTube audience never got the upload of the Joey Ryan interview. So we're doing a 1-2 punch. If you go to our YouTube channel right now over at the RCWR Show, you can actually watch or listen to the episode that we did with Joey Ryan, fresh as he was dealing with the whole conspiracy behind the TNA gut check judges. Really great upload right there. Check that one out. And we're actually going to try to see if we can have Joey Ryan come back onto the show. I've kind of lost touch with him since he did the show. I know he's had a very hectic schedule as of late, but we are going to try to reach out to him, and hopefully we can get him to come on back, do a second go-around, find out what all he's been up to. How's he been enjoying the ride so far in TNA Wrestling? All right, so let's go on ahead. Let's open up the phone lines. The number to call, as always, folks, 646-478-3525. Once again, that's 646-478-3525. Kick on back, smile, and dial, be live on the air. And we got plenty of show time left, so I'm done flapping my gums. I want to hear from you guys. Pick your brain, see what all has got you guys buzzing. Once again, 646-478-3525. We're going to go on ahead and we're going to open up those phone lines right now. So, lovely co-producer Tammy, I'm waiting on her to give me the word. Where are we going tonight? All right, we're going to go there? All right, let's do it. All right, well, let's kick things off with our good friend Dave from the Michigan area. Dave, you're live, my friend.
Hey, I was actually thinking you were going for Christian York for a minute.
Nah.
I was like, oh, that'd been cool.
No, we're still working on that one.
Yeah, I know you talked about it before, so that's why I was kind of in the back of my mind thinking that, because I know you talked about it before. And that Joey Ryan interview is great, so feel bad for those people who didn't get it.
Yeah, it's good. It's funny. I was not, I thought the episode was uploaded on YouTube when it initially aired, but I was looking at the channel today. I'm like, where's the Joey Ryan piece? And the Joey Ryan piece wasn't up there. I'm like, oh, well, this is new.
Yeah.
What do you make of the Shield from Monday, man?
Oh, man, I didn't know Ambrose was really that good. They kind of reminded me, I know people don't want to compare it, he brought the NWO thing up, what I thought was funny, a really cheap plug, but it was really funny how they did it. What you didn't really see it is that when he put it like that, though, that's what was so cool about it. They kind of reminded me of like a Hall and Nash shoot interview. You ever seen Kevin Nash, Scott Hall just sit down and do a shoot interview basically with each other? Yeah. That's what it kind of reminded me of. Not trying to compare them to the NWO, but just the way they come off on the mic, like that's who they are in real life. They just sat back and just swung it. I wanted to know what you thought, which I enjoyed it. Let me say, I'm loving this group. I would like to see Hero in it, but I think everyone wants to see or Cassius Ohno. But I want to know what you didn't really touch on the match that much. But I want to know what you thought of Antonio Cesaro's match against Sheamus. It's like his really first big match at a big spotlight.
I mean, I thought it was a very solid contest, and I was actually happy to see Big Show come out because when I initially saw the match, I'm saying to myself, no, Sheamus cannot get a clean victory over Cesaro. I mean, that diminishes his run as the champion right now, and, if you're going to diminish him a little bit, if you're going to make him look weak, show some signs in his armor, then you need to have it come off of R-Truth. That just makes more sense. And it's kind of weird, Dave, because we didn't even get to see, if I'm not mistaken, we didn't even get to see R-Truth in action on Raw.
Yeah, I mean, were you impressed with Cesaro in that match?
I was impressed, I must admit, and I loved how the finish came about for that match, but just overall, I loved how he handled himself with Sheamus. I love the fact that he even tried to attempt that finisher there. I'm like, whoa, he picking up a big boy
that
there.
Uppercut? I mean, the uppercut off the top, that was like, whoa.
Yeah, he did some Ryu stuff right there from Street Fighter.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, this dude is like, he really brought it to Sheamus, like, whoa. I mean, I thought Sandow was really impressive with Sheamus, but that really impressed me. I mean, to see a former ROH guy so I don't know if you watch him a lot in Ring of Honor, but, I mean, watching him and Hero, Kings of Wrestling, I mean, to see them in the WWE getting a chance just like Seth Rollins, I mean, just to see the guys get a chance, like Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, these guys getting their shot, it's really awesome to watch when you watch their whole careers.
One thing, though, it's so funny because
WWE doesn't know it, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And I'm going to save it for the year-end episode. But what they have on their hands right now, and I'm not even talking about what's happening with the Shield, they don't even notice what I'm noticing and probably what a select few people might notice, but they have something under their hands that if they do it right, they have like the next biggest storyline that is going to even surpass everything possibly that the WWE has done so far with the whole D-Generation X, the Nexus. It could even surpass the Shield if they do it right. I think if you know what I'm talking about, I want you to save it. I want you to, let's tease the listeners, but, I think that's the thing. I don't think WWE even knows what they got right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I know exactly what you're saying, but I didn't really think Bryan and Kane would be that great of a tag team. Mm-hmm. I was looking more or less like, man, they got the Kings of Wrestling and Florida Championship Wrestling, their little FCW, and they're not even teaming them up. I'm like, what is going on? Because if you watch them at all, you remember when Hoss and Benjamin came to ROH to face the Kings of Wrestling, it was like, whoa. Yeah. And the epic tag match they had. Yeah. I mean, man, I was like, how could you not be teaming these guys up? They could be saving the tag division.
I got to pick your brain because I know several weeks back you were talking, you were sharing your thoughts about the whole Undertaker streak thing. Oh. Hearing that Undertaker.
We talked about this a while ago.
Yeah, hearing Undertaker's got, he's going to come back, whether some people like it or not, hearing that he's going to come back to do some type of a main caliber type of match. How does that make you feel, hearing that, knowing all the nagging injuries that he's had, just this year prior? I mean, he just got hip surgery replacement.
If it's anybody, which me and Homie were talking on Twitter last night about, like, well, how about streak versus streak with Punk? And I would like to see Undertaker get one last run. That'd be cool as champion. Mm-hmm. But if they're really going to, which that would really, if they do let Punk, in the way you were talking, it seems like maybe Punk is going to get past The Rock somehow. I loved how you put that, I think this weekend, about how Cena should screw him over or something like that. Yeah. And I hope to get somebody, if it isn't The Rock or if it isn't Punk and Undertaker, which I think Punk beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania, people would hate that. Mm-hmm. But think how huge that would be for CM Punk. Yeah. You just beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Yeah. I mean, I could see Undertaker come back for one last match and say he really approves of Punk. Like basically Hogan and Andre thing almost, in a way. Right. Passing that big torch. Which I just hope they don't keep saying, hey, one more match. We were like 30-minute overtime on a weekend show, I believe, talking about one more match and 5 more years. Yeah. Why not 5 more years? Yeah. I think they have to do one more match. Just make it one more match and that's it. To get a younger guy over, like a CM Punk could use it. They got some really tough stuff on their hands right there. I mean, at this point, they need to do everything they can to show Undertaker as much support as possible, because he's in a position right now, only he knows how his body is going to be holding up, and it's still early. WrestleMania is still a couple of months away. I would just hope that between now and then, if he is really committed to doing a main event caliber type of match, win, lose, draw, I really hope that he does whatever is needed to make sure that he physically can hang. Because, I mean, the Undertaker that we had got at last year's WrestleMania, I think many of you would agree, wasn't quite up there with the Undertaker that took on Triple H for the second time, 2 years ago. He definitely looked like time and his health was kind of kicking his ass, if you will. Let's go to our next call right now. Dave, thanks for that call as always. Let's go to our good friend, Homie, from the San Antonio area. Homie, you live.
Hey, what's up, Lee? Hope you had a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it was pretty good, man. How about yours?
Pretty good. That Cesaro match was damn good. I was really impressed with that match, and that uppercut was pretty damn amazing. Wasn't expecting that at all, and he connected with him pretty good. There's no botch or nothing like that, so I enjoyed that. And with this whole Shield thing, I'm not trying to compare them at all to this group, but it seems to me with CM Punk just maybe somehow joining them, and then Paul Heyman, they kind of remind me of the Four Horsemen, with Paulie being the manager and then Punk being, kind of like the Ric Flair of the group. That's what he kind of reminds me of.
I can kind of see that, yeah.
But with The Undertaker, I would think maybe they would have to put Punk in that match. You get a wrestler that knows what he's doing in the ring against The Undertaker, so he won't, maybe get hurt or seriously hurt during the match. I don't know what you think about that.
Personally, unfortunately, I don't see it happening, but I would love to see CM Punk versus Undertaker, and quite honestly, I would like to see the streak end. I think that, when you really think about it, for CM Punk to get the win over The Undertaker, that would silence so many people that want to sit up and say, well, what has CM Punk done this whole year? Who has he really beaten? And to really have a name like that be added to that resume, that would really just make him look really freaking popular. And, but again, when it's all said and done, Undertaker, we all know his MO. He's that type of guy. Whatever's good for business, whatever is best, he's down for whatever. And, past, 5 years now, we've heard the rumblings that, there's serious talk. Undertaker might lose. It could happen. They keep flip-flopping back and forth. If there was ever a time where his streak could be in some serious jeopardy, it could be at this year's WrestleMania. But, ultimately, homie, it all boils down to Vince McMahon. That's his baby. He loves that character.
Yeah, and you can only get so many matches out of The Undertaker, and you're totally right about how he looked. I was at WrestleMania last year, and he didn't look the same with the shaved head. Yes, it kind of threw everybody off, but he didn't look the same. He looked like he lost a lot of weight. It just looked like he wasn't the same Undertaker. And to me, he only has maybe one more match in him, in my opinion.
I don't know. I mean, if he can, I would have to see some serious stuff from The Undertaker. Because, I mean, for me, it's like, how can you top your Hell in a Cell performance that really just looked like it drained the hell out of you? I mean, it drained him by 5 years. It's like, how can you come back from that? I don't know. But one thing's for certain, they're going to have to do something with Punk very soon, because WrestleMania is right around the corner, and if it's not going to be The Undertaker, then it's kind of like, what's the point of him being WWE champion then?
Yeah, exactly. And my thing is, if Punk loses the title to The Rock, with all these rumors are supposedly supposed to say, who is he going to face at WrestleMania? I mean, it means him without an opponent, unless they're going to maybe throw in The Miz against him or, something like that. And I don't want to see that. I want to see, The Rock versus Punk, the rematch, or Undertaker versus Punk, streak versus streak. I think that would be the major showing to all the fans out there that the WWE is moving on from the Cena era into the Punk era. And I agree with you with 100% with what WWE has under their hands with all these wrestlers that they have, with Rollins and Ambrose and Hero and all them. They just need to believe in them and have confidence in them to throw them out there and to prove, what they got. It just seems like they're so scared to take a risk on someone nowadays.
Yeah.
It's disappointing.
I'll say this, and I know some people, because this was the argument that was made last week, and homie, thank you for that call. This was the argument that was said last week. why are we talking about The Rock and CM Punk? We still have to deal with one more pay-per-view. Anything can happen. Well, yeah, that's true, but when you're thinking about it from a financial standpoint, you're not going to take a guy like Ryback and you're not going to put him in a situation where basically you have Brock Lesnar versus The Rock 2. The Rock does not need to come back to face a second version of Brock Lesnar and lose to him. That it's really not going to help. And it's like you've gone with CM Punk this long, you're going to go on ahead and ride him out. Now, would it be a nice curveball that was thrown at us at the TLC pay-per-view coming up in a couple of weeks? Oh, you bet your ass. That would be a nice curveball if they went on ahead and decided they were going to put the belt on Ryback. But the smart money is to have CM Punk retain and just be waiting for The Rock. And, let's not forget, folks, this month is pretty much in the books. It's now, the 28th now on the East Coast. Good morning to you guys. We're pretty much into December now, and the Royal Rumble is in January, so you might as well say January is practically almost here. So, it's okay to start talking about it right now. The smart money would be to have, once again, I can't say it enough, and I'll keep saying it all the way up till our Call That Match special for the Royal Rumble. You got to have Punk go over Ryback at TLC, and, that way you get all the doubt out the way. And I don't want you guys sitting up for you Ryback fans. Well, what's going to happen with Ryback? If Ryback loses, then, what happens with him next? Well, he's going to get a little bit sidetracked, and that's exactly what needs to happen. I have a feeling that the Shield is going to continue to just stick it to him every chance that they get, and that's exactly the way it should happen. So don't be too surprised when you get ready to pay that $35, $45, $55 plus tax for the TLC pay-per-view. Don't be too surprised if you see the Shield make another appearance and in some shape or form they help Ryback get the win. They help CM Punk get the win over Ryback. Don't be too surprised over that. I see we have our good buddy Christian. He wants to chime in his thoughts on the matter. You're live on the air, my friend. Go for it.
Yeah, but hey, what's up, Lee?
Hey, pretty good, man.
The whole Ryback situation, and CM Punk, I really like to see John Cena in the picture, as a special referee or something like that. I already know what's gonna happen at TLC. That we already know CM Punk's, and the new Shield are gonna of course they're gonna they're gonna kick the shit out of Ryback's ass and beat him up dearly to play Pope or whatever. How they're gonna handle him or put him to another double table or some shit like that. But but how they're doing this pay-per-view, I just like to see another, add just John Cena and that's that'll be a good picture. And another thing, that'll be pretty cool, just to see, CM Punk's on this streak, this whole 300 and something days of being,
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, you want to see John Cena be involved in some type of a match, possibly with CM Punk and Ryback. You want to see him basically be maybe a special guest referee, maybe kind of keep him in the loop there. I kind of see what you're talking about there, and that really wouldn't be too much of a bad idea. I would entertain that, kind of keeps him in the loop, maybe even puts him in that position of basically saying to the respected Raw general manager, whoever it is, Vicky, whoever, hey, when am I going to get my shot? This Ryback guy, he's had 3 opportunities now. What about me? I still need to get some type of payback. I was screwed too. And, I can kind of see something like that happen. I see exactly what you're saying. I agree with that 100%. You still got a little bit of time. You can call on in if you want. Number to call 646-478-3525. Once again, that's 646-478-3525. Kickback, Smile, and Dow will be live on the air. Thank you for that call, Christian. You know, I will say this. I got a little sidetracked earlier. The Shield, they need to do something with that name because, and Zed knows me pretty damn well. We were both chuckling about it after Raw went off. I'm like, of all the names WWE could think of, this is what they're going with. You know, I hear the Shield, and I'm thinking Vic Mackey, you know, portrayed by Michael Chiklis. You know, I'm thinking about Shane. I'm thinking about Lamb. Of course, I'm thinking about the infamous episode where Shane kills Lamb and Mackey vows that he's going to find a person that did this, and he doesn't know the entire time that it was Shane. And, you know, I'm just thinking all this cool stuff that's just, you know, happening with that whole series, and I'm like, oh, I got to go look that up on Netflix or something like that. And, you know, they need to work on that name a little bit because every time I hear that name, I just keep thinking about that damn song, especially the way The Shield used to come on. Some of you guys probably don't know what I'm talking about. If you never saw The Shield, if you have Netflix, go see if you can look up the previous seasons. You'll thank me later. Hands down, best season had to been, I believe it was season 5 that they had got Forrest Whitaker. He had joined the cast, and he was fresh off of his win as Idi Amin in The Last King of Scotland, and he did some really great work on that show. He had played a higher-up guy that was put in charge of the farm where Mackey, Shane, Lim worked, and pretty much it was his job to try to figure out how to take down the strike force because he had got word that Mackey was a corrupt cop. And you all like that show. If you've never checked it out before, but you like stuff like Breaking Bad, you like Cops, America's Most Wanted, The Untouchables, if you like that type of stuff, you'll like that show. You'll thank me later. But they need to work on that name. I don't know. They just need to work on that name. I don't know why, but I just feel they need to work on that name. I kind of like what some of the other names that were being put out there, people were suggesting. I agree with NXT 3. I thought that was kind of wicked. There's really not too many other names you could probably think of, but something about the Shield doesn't quite fit right. You know, maybe they should have called themselves The Injustice. I could have settled for something like that. I don't know. But, hey, it is what it is. All right, so that's going to do it for this episode. I want to just thank everybody that had called into the show tonight, respectively. Thank those of you that had checked out tonight's show. Remember, we got that special guest that's going to be coming by Impact Showdown Radio this Thursday night, the one and only Elia Markinopoulos. So make sure that you check that out. It's going to be a really great, in-depth interview. You guys will have fun checking it out. And that's going to do it. Be sure to subscribe to us in the iTunes, Zune marketplaces, keywords, RCWR Show. And, hey, as we always say, make sure you submit that good review for us in the iTunes so that the higher the ratings that we get, more easy it is for other folks to stumble upon our show and be able to check it out and subscribe as well. If you haven't done that review yet, please do so, and, hey, we thank you humbly in advance. For the lovely co-producer Tammy, Zed, I'm the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders. Till we hear from you all this Thursday night, be safe and be kind to one another, folks. See you this Thursday night, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, for Impact Showdown Radio. Everybody take care.